Hey Copper Nerds, Jim is asking how many coins were minted before dies were replaced or touched up. I have some answers in this book and a couple more answers in this book. So let's get into it. So what I've got here is the guidebook of half cents and large cents by Q. David Bowers, and then there's a foreword by Harry Salyards, who you may recognize as being the editor of the Pennywise publication, which you're well aware of if you're a member of EAC, which if you're watching this channel, you should be, because that is where you're going to get your best ongoing information about developments in early copper is your quarterly Pennywise publication, along with a lot of resources over at the members portal. So we'll start with that, including the EAC grading guide in digital format for free, which is impossible to get your hands on. I've got one, but it was expensive and you can't find them. Anyway, let's jump into our half cent and large cent guidebook because it answers our question directly. The coinage life of dies. The life of coinage dies rose steadily over the years. At the beginning of the 1793 chain cent coinage, the life was about 3,000 impressions, which is crazy low, right? Rising to about 10,000 as the coinage continued. In 1794, under Voigt, the average was about 20,000. We had about 1,000,1794 large cents struck. If they were lasting about 20,000 per die, we would again expect to see something around the 58 plus, but there's another 11 NCs, 69 different die pairings. Excuse me, that all makes sense. The figure rose to 40,000 from 1795 to 98 after the mint hired Adam Eckfeldt, who improved the method for forging the steel. And then Eckfeldt experimented with the steel from 1799 to 1801. By 1802 and 3, the average die life was up to 200,000 impressions from 20,000 in 1794, so increased tenfold. Continuing on, they ended up at about 350,000 by the early 1800s, 05 to 08. 1809 to 1814, planchets were scarce. Die life was about 250,000 strikes. 1816 to 1830, about 320,000 impressions. And by 1857, at the end of the large cent run, 400,000 strikes per set of dies. So regarding metallurgy, there are some discussions about that subject throughout the Pennywise publications. You should definitely be taking a look at what's out there. I got my hands on some older issues. This one's from 2017, but they're all available online. And then if you're an EAC member through the members portal, but there are discussions about metallurgy here and there. And there's plenty to read up on that subject. I'm just not that well versed on it at the moment, but I do know from listening to Chuck Heck talk that, you know, the early die steel had a lot of impurities, that had a lot of inconsistent heat treats, and that's why you had such a short die life, why you had so many die failures, why you had clash marks so prominently, where you had one die much harder than the others. As far as how often dies were resurfaced, it was just an ongoing process, and then typically when a die was reused from one to the next, the die was resurfaced and the clash marks removed. So you'll see Sheldon 49 was the second use of reverse X, and the reverse die has been resurfaced to remove the clash marks from the S51 marriage. That resurface is also weakened the bottom of the left ribbon loop. No cracks, cuts, dental fusing yet on this particular variety. But what you'll see is that the dies were cleaned up throughout their use, and clash marks will often just persist and continue throughout the die states. But then when that die is used on the next die pairing, typically resurface to remove the clash marks. I think that kind of covers what I got for you, Jim. I know you had asked a little bit about metallurgy. I don't have a ton of info on metallurgy, but I assure you it's out there. So feel free to look into that a little more. Thought I would just drop this one into a short video since it was a question from the comments. I will talk to you guys more there and catch you on the next one. Peace.